Okay, this is a video of the new Shelton High School community service graduation requirement for the year 2019-2020, and this is the first year, the inaugural year that we have had this. So this is a tutorial to show you all the expectations and the ins and outs of this process. So I have a little presentation for you here. Again, the community service step-by-step tutorial. So the idea is after watching this tutorial, you will understand the purpose of this requirement, where the forms are, what they are, where to access them online, the processes involved in turning in, and then how we keep track of it, and then who to talk to with any more questions. So we'll get going. Again, the purpose of this is the Shelton Public Schools Board of Education passed the community service graduation requirement as presented in order to create a mechanism for students to expand the educational experience outside the traditional walls of the school. They feel as though the character, personal, and societal benefits of volunteering is an essential part of development and thus should be a requirement for each student to graduate from Shelton High School. Now, a definition, because you will see this, and I wanted to make sure it was completely clear, is community service experience. And that is defined as an activity of community service in which all aspects are related and or work toward the same goal. So an experience can be one session on a single day. It can also be one session each day for several days. It can be multiple sessions spanning multiple days. And then I give you an example and a non-example. So Brenda and Jack. Brenda is the example. She helped paint the back kennel at the Humane Society, and it took her 2 hours on a Tuesday and 2 more hours to get the job done on the following Tuesday. This is one experience that took 4 hours. So for this, you will just need one reflective piece of paper, one reflection form. Now, a non-example of this is Jack cleaned up the landscaping around the public library on September 5th for 1 hour. Later in the year, he planted trees in the city park for 2 hours. These are two different experiences totaling 3 hours. So he would have to do a reflective form for the first hour and then a second one for that second 2-hour period of time. Okay, so here's the forms. You can see on the left, you have a community service participation form. You will always need this for each community service experience. On the right, if your activity is not on the pre-approved list on the website, you will need this form. This must be signed by the principal prior to your service. So if there's something that you really want to do that is not on our pre-approved list, then what we'll do is have it filled out here. And truthfully, it may end up being on the pre-approved list if you have a good experience and it works out well for everybody, just expand the opportunities for everyone involved. Now, another form is service reflection questions. You will also need this for each community service experience. Again, that experience does not mean for every single hour. That means if you have one experience for 5 hours, then you do one of these things. If you have one for 2 and one for 5 and then another one for 3, that would be 3 separate reflection question sheets, and that would suffice that part of it. Now, where do I find these forms? Well, couple different places, and we'll look around on the website in just a second. You can see we have a rack in the office that has these forms in it, and that's on the left. You can also see if you click on the high school page up above, there is a community service area on that page, and there's tabs here with all of these forms attached to them as well. And you're free to go on there and print those out if you would rather do it that way. But we have them in both ways. All right, so online forms, and you can see them here. You can see the policy. You can see the pre-approved list right here. You can see community service participation form, service reflection questions, pre-approval. Frequently asked questions is one that we'll constantly be adding to, questions that we may not even have thought of yet. And then a step-by-step walkthrough. This could also be helpful for you in addition to this video. Now, how do you turn in your hours? Well, if it was on the pre-approved list, you're living on the left side of this screen. What you'll do is you'll turn in community service participation form and your service reflection questions. Okay, you'll staple those together. You'll hand those in the office. Now, if it was not on the pre-approved list, you're on the right side of the screen. And you will have a pre-approval form, then a community service participation form, and then service reflection questions. Now, what you'll do is you will staple all of your forms together for that community service experience. So if we go back to those examples, the one that did the painting at the Humane Society, all of that would just be one stapled packet that you would hand in the office. Where do you turn them in? You'll turn them in to this friendly lady in the office. Her name is Vicky. I'm sure you know her by now. You can also see kind of back behind her where these things are going to be kept. Now, what will happen to the forms once they get turned in? Well, first thing is as you can see, another picture of those baskets. And each student has their own folder that is specifically for their community service hours to log all of that stuff. And this will actually travel with you throughout high school. Once you're done, if you read through the policy, you'll see that this will end up in your cumulative file. So after you graduate, we're going to pull your community service stuff. We're going to get it all stuck together, and then we will stick it right in your cum file, and that will live there for all of time. So your stapled forms will be placed in a folder with your name on it, as you can see. How are they recorded? Well, the first thing is they're going to be recorded on this little clipboard here. And with that clipboard, they're just going to be tallied on there. And then how are my hours recorded? Each person has these forms in their mailbox or in their little folder. Okay, so if you're a senior, you will have one form in there since this is the first year. If you're a junior, you'll have two, and you can see what it says on there. And these things are available online as well to be able to see them. But these students won't ever have to touch. Okay, the student name, you can see Tabitha Bermude, graduation year 2021. So she obviously this year did food bags, and then she did the Nebraska State Fair for 6 hours. That was probably on the pre-approved list. And then we totaled up, and at the end of the year, you can see that big bold area at the bottom. That's where we would have your totals put up. So if you put in 12 hours this year, you would show a 12 out of 10. And then we would also keep that tally going throughout the course of your high school career. Then what? You will go then on your merry way knowing that you have done good. And that sounds pretty bad, so good in the world, just to clarify, so you don't think it's terrible grammar. Now, a couple of extra notes. You can do more than 10 hours in a year. They will just count towards subsequent years. You can do more than the minimum hours required, 10 per year. In fact, there's recognition, and I took this run right out of the policy. You can earn a superintendent's certificate of merit if you meet the following requirements. Bronze level is 40 to 59 hours. Silver level is 60 to 79, and then gold level is anything over 80 hours of community service. And that stuff we do have to have logged in the office, just like we went through with this entire process. Now, if you have any questions, please ask an administrator, guidance counselor, or secretary, and we will help you answer those things. And then last but not least, we will do a website tour quickly. So you go to our homepage, and you'll just click on junior, senior high school and scroll down to the community service area. Now the policy is here, and you can view that in its entirety at your leisure and read through. And this has all the same stuff in it, but this is also parted out a little bit differently. Okay, and we'll show you that here. So back down, the pre-approved activities list will be something of importance to you. And this will be a fluid document that's always going to be changing, meaning there's going to be stuff that we add to this throughout the course of the year. So just make sure you're familiar with where this is, because if somebody has a great idea on a pre-approval form, we're like, geez, we never thought of that. We're going to go ahead and add it to this list to make it so it's just a step easier for everyone, because that's something that I think will benefit every student. Okay, now we're back to the forms, community service participation form, and these are going to start looking pretty familiar because this is what's printed out. Okay, you can see right here. These forms are available in the office. You can also print them off online. It's entirely up to you, but they are available in both ways. And you can see how the rest of them go. So again, this is the video to help clarify community service hours.